What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some highlights from the current Steam Next Fest currently taking place on Steam, if you'd believe it, from yesterday, October 13th to October 20th. And as always for these events, I love to go through all of the demos that are available and highlight some of them that were my favorites, but as usual, a couple of notes right off the bat. For starters, there's thousands of demos in these events usually. I cannot possibly cover them all, so if you've played a few or checked out some that are interesting, by all means drop them down below. I may well check them out for myself. But if you don't know what the Steam Next Fests are, it's basically a highlight of upcoming games via a bunch of free demos that will allow you to, of course, check out and play these games for yourself as a way to sort of put them onto people's radar and give them a bit of marketing that they might not have otherwise. As such, like indie to AA are usually where most of these demos fall. And last but not least, probably worth a mention because I always see some confusion around this. Sometimes games will have the demo available just for the event. Other times the demo was available previously and they are using the event as a bit of marketing. And other times still, the demo was available, will be available during, and will stay available afterwards. It's really on a case-by-case basis. There's not a lot of consistency to it. It really is just down to whatever the individual developer decided to do with their demo. All of that said, let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, I wanted to kick this off with Avernum 4, because Avernum 4, Greed and Glory, a remake of the normal Avernum 4, is actually releasing on October 22nd, but it is also participating in this Steam Next Fest, so if you wanted to check out this CRPG a bit for yourself, you are able to do so. And while it might seem like a weird place to jump into, Avernum is actually divided into two trilogies, the first trilogy being 1 through 3, and 4 obviously then being the start of that second trilogy, and you don't really need to know a ton about the first one to jump into this one. And given that this one will be the most up-to-date, like engine-wise and everything, it's not an unheard-of place to start. Though I will say I did enjoy playing through the first 3 for myself. And it looks like the fourth one here, in addition to all the engine updates, is also adding a significant amount of content to the game as well. So if you like CRPGs at all, this one may well be of interest to you, and I thought it was cool that they were putting out a demo, so be sure to check it out. Second up, we've got Warhammer 40k Mechanicus 2. The first Mechanicus was a fantastic little TRPG, kind of short and sweet and to the point. Mechanicus 2 seems to be aiming to improve on a lot of those initial systems while also allowing you to play things like the Necrons. And I actually checked this demo out quite some time ago when it was only available to content creators, but they, a little while back, made it available to everyone, which was funny because I had people asking me to check out the demo, but I had already done so a fair bit ago. But nonetheless, a fun little TRPG. Obviously, if you enjoy Warhammer 40k, you'll get much more mileage out of it than you might have otherwise, but I do think it's really enjoyable anyway, just because of not only the refinements to the Mechanicus side of things, but now you have the Necrons, which have their own mechanics, and you'll play as both of them, so worth a check out if you like that genre at the very least. Speaking of upcoming games, though, I also wanted to shout out Rue Valley. Rue Valley is a game that has been available in demos previously, but is also set for a November 11th release, and this game is honestly kind of like a Disco Elysium-like, really, in that it is a narrative game where, in this particular case, our character is reliving the same chunk of time over and over again, trying to sort out his problems and get to the bottom of what's happening here so you could theoretically escape this time loop. I enjoyed what I played of it a while back during, I believe it's Alpha, and I'm looking forward to reviewing it on release, but if you want to see it for yourself, you are able to do so right now. In a bit of a different turn, another one that I wanted to mention was actually Sleep Awake. This is a game that's been on my radar for a little while, but the gist of it is that it is a psychedelic horror game, as it describes itself, but basically psychological horror, where you live in the last known city on Earth, and people have started disappearing anytime they sleep, like straight up vanishing into thin air. And as such, people have gotten into more and more deranged experiments to hold off on sleeping, while also having to avoid things like the death cults that have popped up around this, who are just straight up trying to kill you on top of all of that. So looks to be an interesting game that you can play a little bit of yourself via this demo. Not sure on a release date for that one outside of the demo, but I'll probably cover it just because I think it's kind of a neat idea. Keeping it moving, however, next up I wanted to shout out Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era, the latest mainline entry to the Heroes of Might and Magic series that is on the horizon, but is available now for people to play via this demo that was made public a little bit ahead of the Steam Next Fest, but is also taking part in the event. And while I will fully admit these types of strategy games don't always land with me, just because like the way they handle map progression and stuff, but I genuinely had a really fun time playing this demo. And while I am well aware the graphics of it don't exactly vibe with everybody, and I'd encourage you to give it a shot via this very free demo to see if you like it for yourself, because it did pleasantly surprise me, which is why I made a video on it. Keeping it moving, we then have the demo for Menace, which has been available publicly for a little bit, but again, they are taking part in the event. And Menace is from the developers of Battle Brothers, though it is obviously very different, as this one aims to be a sci-fi TRPG where you are focused on stopping a menace in a sort of backwater colony of space that you find yourself stranded in. While you have to manage things like your squad leaders, their squads, the equipment they're using, obviously, individual battle plans and tactics, and while I think parts of it are still a little rough around the edges, I'm hoping with the feedback they get from these demos and things that they'll be able to refine it and make it that much more interesting when it actually releases, which isn't that far away. I believe they're aiming for a full release on February 5th of 2026. But either way, again, another great one to keep an eye on in the future. But still a few more to go here, with our next entry being Of Ash and Steel. Of Ash and Steel is probably best described as a game taking a healthy dose of inspiration from something like Gothic. And given how Piranha Bytes, the Gothic developer, is defunct these days, that kind of thing is certainly of interest to me. This is another one that I took a look at quite some time ago, but has an updated demo as part of the Steam Next Fest here if you wanted to take a look at it for yourself. But the gist of it, as always with Gothic-like games, is that you find yourself in an incredibly unfriendly environment and have to work your way up from very weak into someone who can actually hold their own and explore these lands that you find yourself trapped in, while also trying to pursue the actual goal of the game, mind you. But I think anybody who liked Gothic, and I know there are more than a few fans of it on this channel, would more than likely want to check this one out for themselves. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the full release of that one, which was just announced to be November 6th, so not long at all to wait for that one. Now, this next game has had a demo available for quite some time. I really just wanted to mention it because, again, it is releasing quite soon, here in just a couple weeks, as it is Dispatch, a game where you play a sort of down-and-out superhero who has been relegated to the dispatch of other superheroes to solve crimes, in what is a narrative adventure with a pretty impressive voice cast. And having played the demo previously, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think if you enjoy a good narrative game, this one's kind of a no-brainer, especially given that its initial release is right around the corner, though I believe they are releasing as episodes, and you'll have to wait a few weeks for the whole thing to be available as a complete experience. But either way, worth a look if you have the time. Now, this next CRPG, to be honest with you, I don't think is actually participating in the Steam Next Fest, but they do have a demo available, and it is none other than Sector Unknown, a game where you find yourself stranded on a desolate planet, seeking to establish a stronghold so you'll be able to either ally or dominate the other local factions around you as you seek to stave off a threat that you know is on the way. And while it's honestly a little limited in scope and budget, things like that, it is definitely an indie CRPG to be sure. What I've played of the demo was actually really fun when I checked it out a while back, and as this channel covers a healthy dose of CRPGs, I figure some of you guys might be into it as well, but I genuinely had a lot of fun with what I played of it, and I hope they manage to stick the landing when it actually hits its full release. And then last but not least, we have Shadow of the Road, another game alongside Rue Valley that is being published by Owlcat Games but developed by another studio, in this case Another Angle Games. This one puts us in the role of several different characters really, but as they try to navigate feudal Japan but also having to deal with yokai and steampunk machinery through a series of turn-based battles. This is a game that I think has some fun ideas that I'm really just waiting for the release of but I still think is a ways off, so we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, if you want to get the idea of the kind of vibe they're going for, obviously this demo is going to help you do that, and I think it's worth taking a look at, which is obviously what it's doing on this list. But I think for this particular video, that is pretty well gonna do it. There are a whole host of games that are available as demos as part of this event that I think will probably be a pretty good way to spend the week while we wait until several games release back to back right at the end of October, as next week is bringing things like Ninja Gaiden 4, The Outer Worlds 2, Bloodlines 2, the start of Dispatch, Avernum 4, and those combined with this event I think will give us plenty to do over the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, certainly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, by all means, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.